Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today is the 2nd of June, I think. Let's see. Yep, and it's about 8:25 in the morning, I think. Let's see. Something like that. No, it's not that late. About 8, a few minutes. I don't know. All right. No, it is about 8:25, 8:26 or something. I don't know. Why is my watch not showing me this? Something's off with my watch. I don't understand. I'll have to deal with that later. All right. So what we're going to cover today is what happened with Russia and Ukraine with the drone attack destroying 40 Tupolev bombers, and there was a terrorist attack in Colorado, and anti-Semitism is up, and I think fires are up. And, we'll cover those type of things and what's going on, man seated at the right hand of power, his father. We're going to go through those scriptures because I think you need to be encouraged, let's say, because we're not going to know the day or the hour, and a lot of us are just sitting there going, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And we'll go through those scriptures, and then we'll deal with some spiritual warfare things, but we're not going to dwell for a long period of time on that. We don't have to. I'll suggest some new targets for spiritual warfare. Okay, I'm gonna go into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream. And then I'll put a post up and we'll get going. It looks like we're okay. Let's test it. Make sure we got a live stream. Yes, we've got sound and picture. People are coming in. I have moderators. Thank you to the moderators. They're so helpful. Okay, we got a prayer request for... Okay, I'm trying to get this straight here. Okay, prayer request for GF Girl Frank, and her mother. GF Girl Frank and her mother. So we want to pray for, they had a car issue. I'm unsure what that means. So pray for GF Girl Frank and the mother that they would be okay and not suffer for any pain or other bad inconveniences or other problems from the car issue. Thank you. All right, let me get my post in here. Okay. Got it. All right. And now we'll do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, now let me check for prayer requests. Okay. We have a toss request for JB, Jack Bravo, SB, Sierra Bravo, and all their living relatives. So we have a toss request for JB, Jack Bravo, and SB, Sierra Bravo, for these two people and all their living relatives. Okay, we have a continued prayer request for the cat named Shiloh. Please keep praying for the healing of an injury, a wound for Shiloh the cat. We do good with prayer for animals. I think we're good on prayer requests. Okay, so I don't have a whole ton of information on Colorado, but people got injured. It was apparently some guy countering demonstrations about getting the hostages free from Gaza, and he did some type of attack. And anti-Semitism is up, you know. That's a given fact. Okay, so let's continue. So Ukraine smuggled, they're saying it was an 18-month period of time this was worked on, smuggled various drones into Russia inside of trucks from which they were launched surreptitiously, quietly as a terrorist attack from inside Russia. And one of the big things that Zelensky got was destruction of 40 Tupolev bombers. And that cost Russia billions of dollars, rest assured. And it's not making Putin feel warm and mushy inside. Now, Putin has a lot of aircraft, and Putin's not out of the fight or anything like that, you know. If you knocked out 40 bombers that Iran had, they'd be out of the fight, but they don't even have 40 bombers to start with. So, there's supposedly negotiations again in Istanbul, Turkey. Apparently, Zelensky has representatives in Turkey, and I don't know if Putin does. He likely does. he's going to want to make sure he goes through the motions to look like a Boy Scout and want to have settlement with Ukraine. This hurt him, and what do we think the result of this is going to be? Well, more aggressive action against Ukraine, obviously. The Taurus missile package being given to them from Germany, Germany is cautioning the people in the world publicly that this is not a fast remedy for Ukraine because it takes months to train the soldiers in charge of launching these Taurus missiles as to, getting it done. It takes a few months of training. Now, that could be an alibi cover story, and Germany's going to send the team of, what do they need, 10, 15 guys or something like that, less maybe, to come in there and actually train them or actually operate the missile systems while they're training them. But since Germany said there would not be a fast remedy to use these missiles, I doubt Germany's going to do that because it would sort of give it away. You know what I'm saying? So we got all this talk of Putin and red lines and all this stuff, and, play my violin, it doesn't mean anything with Putin. He just keeps taking it on the chin, Now, don't feel sorry for Putin. He's a real piece of garbage, okay? He's been horrible towards Israel. He's just another junk bucket, impersonator, telling people what he is when he's not, if you know what I mean. He's just a garbage bucket. And, he's hitting his Waterloo. He's turned against Israel so much, so many times. And, he's allied with the enemy of Israel, Iran. It's going to be a tragic end. And a lot of Russian people are going to get hurt. They already have been with the military, and that's what's going to happen. Putin is going to destroy Russia. That's it. I mean, look at it. This is going to drive NATO on. Eventually, if time allows, NATO will move on Russia very aggressively. But right now, the amount of wars that we're seeing, this might be it, okay? You might have some flashpoints like we had with Pakistan and India, you might see something with China and Taiwan and North and South Korea and Japan and China, but I believe the destruction is going to come in the day of vengeance on the nations. Jeremiah 30, verse 11, he will destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into over the many centuries. And that's also found in Jeremiah 46, verse 28. Very, very, very similar passage. So it appears twice. And how are you going to have all these nations get together and all of a sudden have wars and wipe each other out on the same day, the day of vengeance? You're not. So, we're told in Matthew 24, wars and rumors of wars. Well, there's plenty of rumors of wars, and there's some wars. The Ukraine Russia war is a 3-year-old war, and Israel's got wars not quite 2 years old now, but we're still fighting against Lebanon. We're still fighting against Gaza. We're still fighting against Yemen. And we're really still fighting against Iran. Right? Not that actively. So when it talks about wars and rumors of wars, there's perhaps a heavy emphasis on Israel. Okay? Trying to figure out when the big bad stuff is going to happen based on what's going on with Poland and Romania and Ukraine and Russia and Belarus and Germany and France. You're not going to get anywhere that way. It's Israel, not that. Okay? But they get obsessed with that. Now, haven't these survivalist prepper people figured out by now that Russia is not such a big, bad, tough country? That the Americans and the Brits and NATO created a whole big fear-mongering campaign regarding Russia, which Russia did itself also. Beat the war drum at the, big bad Russia ain't so big and bad. If Ukraine can hand them their head, what could America do? What could NATO do together? Pulverize them. Are they lying to us about China also? No. China's a different critter because of the population of China. It's a horse of another color. Russia doesn't have that population. Russia has the oil and natural gas, which China doesn't have. It's they're different things, They're in different locations, and Russia sees itself opposing NATO. NATO sees itself opposing Russia. Not so much China. So it's a weird thing, China so far to date doesn't have the guts to invade Taiwan, although they've practiced it 30, 40 times in the last year and a half by surrounding Taiwan with warships and flying planes over in their airspace. Even live fire drills, which they did a few months ago to Australia too. But Australia, I don't have much sympathy for. They've become extremely anti-Israel. So we know the price they'll pay for that. Because when you're anti-Israel, you're anti-God. You don't want to see God run the nations through redeemed, restored Israel. You want Satan to run the nations with all the debauchery and the evil. And that's where Australia is. So the Jews in Australia will come on the next Exodus, and the others will go down the tubes, down the drain. That's how they are. They become evil and wicked. Never used to be that way, like they are today, but they're, many nations are just, trying to get rid of Israel. To me, Satan is clearly even going to Trump and telling Trump to cool it with the wars. They're all trying to wind down the wars, okay? Because they're scared. And we should do everything possible that we can with spiritual warfare to make them even more scared, more confused, more bewildered, and make more big, bad, fatal mistakes. That's what we should be doing. And I think now we should be working with spiritual warfare against Russia and Ukraine, because they're in a very unusual state right now, and it's a good time to rock their boat. Okay? Very good time to rock their boat. And we should also be rocking the boat of North and South Korea with spiritual warfare. Japan is turning against Israel, so they could get a good dose of spiritual warfare. Taiwan sees themselves as having a lot of lost tribes there, which could be very true. But we could also go do spiritual warfare against Taiwan. They're not exactly a pro-Israel country, and China. So we'll go after China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and Ukraine, and Russia. And we'll keep giving daily doses to the unclean spirits to keep them in panic, freak out, stupid mode, and keep getting them weary and into mistakes. So we want to toss the entire government, elected and appointed officials, and their parliaments and their generals and all their intelligence agencies. You want the unclean spirits tossed, never to return, and they shall not appear. All the unclean spirits shall not appear to the government, help the government, guide, lead, direct, or control the government for the next year. That's enough time, continuously beginning now. They have no control over the government. They are bound from taking or exerting any control over the governments of these countries. And that's it. And then watch them weep. And the mistakes will come in. They want to play the game of, we're not going to go to war. We're just going to keep things the way they are. Yeah, and all of us believers suffer at the hands of these psychotic, delusional morons that follow the demons. So let's just give it back to them. Okay? Of course, working on the churches is a good thing. Working on your own country, be that daughter of Babylon, is always a good thing to keep the pressure on Trump, the White House, the NSA, the CIA, the Pentagon, the generals, the admirals, Congress, the court system. Just keep it up with America. Let it keep falling apart, because that's going to confuse them. And then Trump's liable to leash out, reach out and do something stupid and rash. He flies off the handle and does things suddenly that he regrets. He's proven to be highly ineffective. But people still buy into his party line. Oh, we're going to make America great again. We're going to, and he's failing left, right, and center. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he got assassinated. I really wouldn't. I'm not, I'm just saying that. What I said, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he got assassinated. Okay. Hamas has no intention of anything resembling a sane ceasefire with Israel, and Netanyahu is very slowly and cautiously dragging out the war. And honestly, I can't figure out what this goof is doing with Gaza right now, except, playing his violin and telling Israel he's increasing the war effort. But I don't believe he wants a quick end to the war, and I think Trump is somewhat frustrated with him over this. And the humanitarian aid is flowing, and Hamas was trying to get the aid away from the people. They were shooting. I don't think they killed anybody. They were doing shots in the air, just to get the people to not take humanitarian aid. What these pieces of garbage want to do is hoard the food for themselves, put it in the shops that they control and operate at exorbitant prices, and, see if they could promote more rumors of starving Gazans to make more trouble for Israel. The American, humanitarian aid distribution people were firing, I believe, tear gas at the Hamas and trying to break it up. Also, the people were trying to steal the food trucks, not Hamas, also regular people. So it's just a general chaos over there. The humanitarian aid is all screwed up, and they are capable of fixing it, and they probably will get at least a temporary fix on it. And it probably will come within a few days, so we'll see. So Colorado was fire bombs, and it's just more anti-Semitism. Something like 34% of Russia's cruise missile capability was destroyed yesterday by this terror drone type attack. Don't expect Russia to come up with any amazing events here. You'll be disappointed. Russia's not coming up with any great anything, There's not going to be any nuclear attack. Don't buy into that nonsense. It's not going to happen. Russia does have long-range missiles. I think they call them Marishnikov. And yeah, that might be something Russia begins to use against Ukraine. In other words, start launching medium and long-range missiles. And it'll hit civilian population centers normally. And, stuff like this. I'm not really, I'm rather sure Putin will try to produce or get some type of long-range missiles into play. I really think he's going to try that. And I don't know what's it going to do? Is it going to make Ukraine scared? Yeah, it's not going to turn the war. It's going to make more problems. It's not going to do anything really, revolutionary or anything like that. All right, let me look at the live stream for any questions or comments that need addressing. Russia respond is just going to be more of the same. That's all. more emphasis probably on hitting um, uh, civilian areas again. Putin does do stuff like that. Of course, it puts pressure on Ukraine, on the people. Flying? Okay, not quite sure what you mean by flying, but it's fine with me. Okay, so what I want to do now is go into the scriptures and do a lot of scriptures on the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. Okay, it's a kind of a review, and I think it'll bolster your faith, and I hope it will. I pray it will. Okay, so let's get started. So we'll go to Matthew 26, verse 64. Matthew 26. Matthew 26, 64. Yeshua saith unto him, Thou hast said, Nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. Now, they twist this on purpose to back up their Darby and Schofield nonsense. Ryrie was another big player in this sickness. Okay, so it says the word coming in the clouds. The word for coming is Strong's number 2064. And we'll see how Strong's interprets it. Okay, how he puts it into English. It says to come or go in a great variety of applications. It could be figuratively accompany or appear. Okay? Well, I would say it means appear. Okay? So what it's saying is basically what it says. Yeshua saith unto him, Thou hast said, Nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter shall you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, that's his Father, and coming and appearing in the clouds of heaven. Okay? That's not to return to earth. He doesn't come with God the Father in Revelation 19. He comes on a white horse, double-edged sword coming out of his mouth, which is allegorical. His garment is stained red, and he's coming with the armies of heaven on their white horses, the angels, okay? That's a return to earth. That's when the beast and the false prophet are thrown in the lake of fire. That's when Satan gets bound for the 1,000 years. Okay? this is different. This is the appearing in the clouds. And that's when you see him, you're changed and you'll be like him, and we have the everlasting life. All right, let's keep going. So now we want to go to Acts chapter 1, verse 11. Which also said, you men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into heaven? This same Yeshua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come. Now that word come is not come, it's 2064, the appear word. You see how these scum of the earth do what they do to you? Okay, so it's saying, so come, so appear in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. Okay? So again, he's saying that he's going to appear in the clouds seated on the right hand of power, God the Father, Psalm 110:1. The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Well, when Yeshua appears in the clouds, his enemies are not yet made his footstool, so he's still seated at the right hand of his Father. It's not hard to understand. If you listen to the church, it becomes ridiculously hard. Okay, Luke chapter 21, verse 27. Luke 21:27. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming. That's that word appearing again, 2064. Appearing, appear. Son of Man appear in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. That's it. There you go. He says, lift up your heads so you can see him. And when you see him, you'll be like him. You'll have everlasting life, if you're a believer. So this is the great hope that the apostles had. And the church has been sick enough to extinguish this. And they confuse the people into thinking there's nothing but the return to earth. They have another evil gospel. And the people that follow it are not believers. There might be a couple still stuck there or something, a few, I don't know, but they're generally not believers. Real believers don't follow another gospel and another Jesus, okay, and have another spirit. They don't do that. All right. Now we're in Mark 13:26. Mark 13:26. 13, 26. And, oh, I wound up in Mark 14. That's not what I want. Mark 13. Oh, there we go. Okay, Mark 13:26. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming. That's that same word, 2064, appear. They shall see the Son of Man appear in the clouds with great power and glory. And then shall he send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. Okay, so that's what you read in Matthew 13 when he says he's going to send his angels to separate the tares from the wheat, but you let them grow up together and don't root up the tares because you might root up the wheat with them. So they wound up getting bound in bundles going into the pit. Okay. And the rest he gathers into his barn, and his barn is Israel. And you stop in the wilderness, and you enter into the bond of the covenant and pass under the rod. Okay? And then you come to Israel. So the appearing was of utmost importance to the believers, and the church, of course, extinguishes this. The vermin. Oh, will they ever get it, though? Okay, Mark 14:62. And Yeshua said, I am, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, God the Father, and coming, there we got that word again, 2064, appearing in the clouds of heaven. And it goes on and says, then the high priest rent his clothes and saith, what need we any further witness? You have heard the blasphemy. What think you? And they all condemned him to be guilty of death. Yeah, but he wasn't lying. They were. Well, they didn't know. They were just deceived. But they were also witches, I expect. Luke 17:28. Likewise also, as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. That's the appearing in the clouds, seated at the right hand of God the Father, the power. When the Son of Man is revealed, in that day, he which shall be upon the house. All right, that's possibly something different. Okay, to be changing the subject. So when he's revealed, when you see him in the clouds. See, this whole concept is foreign to the church. Titus 2:13. Titus 2:13. Looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing, that word is appearing, of the great God and our Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach. The appearing of both of them. Titus 2:13. You see, it's all through the scriptures. But they preach another gospel, the churches do, so the people have no idea. 1 Timothy 6:13. 1 Timothy 6:13. Where did Timothy go? Timothy. Six 13. I give thee charge in the sight of God, who quickeneth all things, and before Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, who before Pontius Pilate's witnessed a good confession. I don't know why I put this in here. That thou keep this commandment without spot, unrebukable, until the appearing of our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach. That's why I put it in there. The appearing again. The appearing. Which in his time he shall show who is the blessed and only potentiate, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, who only hath immortality, dwelling in the light, which no man can approach, unto whom no man hath seen, nor can see, to whom honor and power everlasting. Okay. So this is what's really the most important thing in the scriptures, and the church world doesn't believe in it. They don't know about it. They're not real. Churches are not the churches. You got to accept it. They're not real. Okay. Let me see if we'll get questions in the live stream. So there you go, and you could see what's really important. And this was the great hope of the apostles in their era. They knew this would happen. They didn't have the timing down, but they knew this would happen. So we're not going to know the day or the hour beforehand. It's going to take us by surprise. So it's going to be very unpredictable. And I know that it's real easy to just fall into despair and say, oh, this could go on for 35 years. It's never going to end. No, it will. It will. And it's going to end pretty soon. Look at the recompenses. Israel handed their enemies their heads. Iraq's not doing anything. Syria's not doing anything. Iran is huffing and puffing. The Houthis are ineffectual. Hezbollah's not doing anything, and Hamas can't really do anything anymore. You know, that's recompenses. But they're still trying. They're going to get their, they want to get wiped out. That's what's going to happen to them. They love the devil and they hate Jehovah. They're his enemies. And this is the reality of it, This is just what, the way they feel. They hate God. They hate Yeshua. But they're going to fall apart. They already are. They're going to have their world leaders running all the countries of the world and the big corporations until the day of vengeance, and then there'll be no more. And that's the end of them. They'll never make a comeback ever again. So you should be happy and you should be rejoicing and you should be waiting. And, the siege is going to probably enhance. It appears that Elijah works with the Levites before the two witnesses burn the enemies up on the right hand and the left. So that's something else we look for as well. That's pretty much what I was going to cover today. Now, there's one thing I should read that I didn't, and that's get into Matthew 24. And it's Tiki screaming his head off. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua saith unto them, See you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So the Wailing Wall is not the wall from the temple. They say it is to make Yeshua appear to be a liar. It's the wall from the Roman fort, Fort Antonius or Fort Antonia. That's all it is. And they go and pray there as a deceitful practice, right? And as he said, it's a wall from a pagan Roman fort, And as he sat upon, the whole world is steeped in wickedness, And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming or thy appearing, and of the end of the world. It doesn't say the end of the world, it's the end of the age. And what brings on the end of the age is his appearing, because then it comes to the next age with eternal life from his appearing. So that's what this is about. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For I think, where is it? Mark 10:30, I think. I suppose I should take you there. Mark 10:30. But he shall receive, I'm going to go back a little bit more. Mark 10:28. Then Peter began to say unto him, Lo, we have left all and have followed thee. And Yeshua answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house, or brethren, or sisters, or fathers, or mothers, or wife, or children. This thing moved. Hold on. This thinking iPad. And Yeshua answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my sake and the gospel's, but he shall receive 100-fold now in this time, houses and brethren and sisters and mothers and children and lands with persecutions, and in the world, in the age, not world, and in the age to come, it says eternal life. It's everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Okay, so that's what happens with everlasting life. It's the end of the age. There's this age and the age to come with everlasting life. There's only these two ages. All right. So we'll go back into Matthew 24. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. And what he says in the previous verse, though, it says, what will be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the age? That's talking about the appearing in the clouds where you get everlasting life. And it goes into the next stage. Next age. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So they say, yeah, Yeshua's the Messiah, and they deceive people. That's the church world. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay? You got to remember that. The end is when he appears. For heathen nation shall rise against heathen nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in different places, diverse places. So I'm sure that's the case already. All these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then the birth pangs is the sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. This is them back then in that time. Although the church will try to make you think it's you because they want you to believe in tribulation. And then, all the time, of course, and then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Okay? And because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. That's what the church accomplished by abolishing the law. But he that shall endure unto the end of the age, the same shall be salvation, shall be saved. So you got to endure it until the end of the age. That's it. You just got to. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all the heathen nations, and then shall the end come. Well, he's speaking of a different end because this hasn't begun yet, you know. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, now he's in Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11. You know, this is the Gog and Magog days, not now. Okay, this is the end of the second 70 that comes on Israel, the 70 years. Abomination and desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee unto the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath. So the Sabbath day. So obviously the Sabbath is not done away with as the church practices it. Verse 21, Matthew 24:21. Then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs. He's telling you that Christ is not on the earth, now. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chamber, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming or the appearing of the Son of Man be. This is the appearing. For wheresoever the carcasses is, there will be the eagles will be gathered together, the vultures. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. This is the closing of the second 70. And stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. The powers of the air, the fallen angels and stuff. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, the miraculous appearing. This is the appearing. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. This is it, the appearing. It's simple. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the end of heaven to the other. Okay, So there you have it again. And then, in Revelation 1:7, we get more insight. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds, all tribes of the earth, of the land, shall wail, shall mourn because of him. Even so, amen. That's Zechariah 12, verse 10 down to the end of the chapter, perfectly. The only thing we know is no man knows the day or the hour, so you're not going to know when he appears. So that means you can't say, oh, it's not going to happen forever or for a long time. You don't know one way or the other. It's going to be unexpected. That's what it's going to be. Okay? Not really predictable and very unexpected. Hang on a minute. I'm getting some email here. Let me see. All right. Let me try to figure out what I'm being asked here. It's very confusing. Okay. I don't know what I'm being asked. See, you guys got to keep this stuff super simple, because if I can't figure it out, then the people aren't going to figure it out, and they're not going to be able to help you. You got to keep it super simple. Okay. So we're getting a toss request for DJ Delta Jack and the family and the lawyers of the DJ family. Okay, so it's very complicated right now, and this is not the best way to do it. Please try harder to oversimplify these things, please. Okay, DJ family and lawyers toss. Okay, that's the best I'm going to come up with for that. And now we want to make sure that GK Girl Kilo, GK Girl Kilo, pray for a good outcome in civil and criminal cases. So for GK Girl Kilo, pray for a good outcome in civil and criminal cases. Okay, I think we got through that. It's very complicated. Please try. All right, that was that. We got that covered. All right, let's see if we got any more questions in the live stream. All right, I think we're in pretty good shape here. So just be encouraged. You're not going to know when it comes. We don't know. Okay. But it's going to come. And you got to hang on till the end. And these other idiots in the church world are just going to walk around like everything's okay, like the days of Noah and the days of Lot, and they're going to get cut off, and that's that. That's it. Okay, so I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for healing of our bodies. We always need that. Pray for our finances. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos and that we get more insights. And we're not going to be able to call when it's going to happen until it happens. Okay? That's the reality of it. Okay? And I would encourage you to stay in with the spiritual warfare. It's going to build your faith. Believe me, it will. And it's going to help us. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. My thanks to the moderators. And I'm out. Thanks.